everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best of 3 series of Terran versus Protoss played in a recent ESL Open Cup for the South Korean server, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map El Sayani. In the top right hand corner we have the man who probably picked this map to play on. We have none other than ByuN, his opponent, in the opposite corner. Somebody I haven't featured all too much on my YouTube channel as of late, which is a real shame because he's one of the greatest Protosses. He goes by the name of Creator. I feel like I pretty much always do this, right? I feature the same 10 players over and over and over again on my YouTube channel. Probably a good idea to create a little bit of variety because it's kind of insane. There are actually some really good players out there that I rarely feature. Partially, obviously, also because of the fact that they don't play in as many online cups. But there are a fair amount of creator replays out there, so really no reason for me to not feature him a little bit more frequently. Anyways, ByuN is somebody I think everybody should be familiar with right now, right? I think this is well, he's pretty aggressive overall, but generally speaking, a stock standard Terran player with a heavy focus on micro and aggression. Maybe his defensive skills are not quite as good, but that is something that the top tier Terrans have gotten a lot better at over the last year or so. ByuN very much so. Like, for example, Clem has worked a lot on his defensive play to the point where sometimes he just doesn't attack at all. And I'm sitting here waiting for him to go for an attack, and he's like, nope, I'm gonna make another command center. And then I'm gonna make another command center. Although, in his defense, that's mostly when it comes to playing against the Zerg. Anyways, it is going to be a command center right here after a single gas for ByuN. However, he decided to go for the high ground one because that probe is being annoying, and obviously Protoss players sometimes decide to send that zealot across the map. When your command center is delayed, it just makes the game much harder to play. None of that though is the case here for Creator. Not bothering with the zealot, going straight into the adept here together with the warp gate upgrade, and we'll have to see in just a moment what sort of tech he decides to go for. Probably will be Twilight Council. Could definitely also be a Stargate. We could even proxy the Stargate. I don't think so. That timing doesn't quite line up with anything. And the amount of gas does suggest that this is likely going to be a Twilight play. Those two, though, are certainly the most popular options in this matchup. You can either go into Blink or you can go into Phoenixes. And there indeed is the Twilight Council coming up right here for Creator. You could even go into Charge if you're feeling really aggressive. You could even go into Glaive the Depth. But generally speaking, none of that is all too popular. Creator, though, decides to go for a pylon in a very obvious location. Like, if we're gonna go for a proxy pylon, at least put a little bit of effort into it. This is one of those proxy locations that probably won't be scouted. But if ByuN decides to take a tour of the map, he would certainly come across this one, right? Like, why not just put... Anyways, it's okay. Double Cyclone right now here coming up for ByuN. I mean, they created the new multiplayer balance patch. Ooh, it's a Proxy Dark Shrine. Alright, well that is one of the options too that I didn't yet discuss. Proxy Dark Shrine with a gateway. Alright. They created the new multiplayer balance patch with Terran mech against Protoss in mind. Nobody's playing Terran mech other than a handful of Cyclones, but whenever I see 2 Cyclones on the production tab, I do get a bit excited. There's always a chance. Alright, so this game can be over very rapidly if ByuN does not figure out what's going on. Alright, he decides to go for a safety Raven. Luckily for him, very, very handy tool. Obviously, it's great against, well, for example, anything that isn't a Stargate opener, really. You can harass your opponent very effectively. But unless ByuN decides to send this... Oh no. Unless he decides to send it straight across the map, he should be good against DTs. Dark Templar will hit the battlefield in just a moment. This is something that you have to deal some damage with, because otherwise you just fall behind. I mean, especially when you decide to proxy it, obviously there's a good chance you're going to end up losing the tech. Although at this point, ByuN doesn't realize that this has been proxied. So even if he does manage to defend these Dark Templar cleanly, there's still a chance he's not going to bother actually checking the map for any sort of proxies. Wow, alright. Now the question is, where's the Raven? Oh no. Question is, do we have... He just dropped a mule. We do not have energy. This mule just ruined it. Sorry, buddy. Ooh, nice little spotting right there, though, by ByuN. He sees the shimmer on the ramp, and he decides to lift the depot. That actually makes this so much easier. I think the second DT probably should go in, but I think ByuN is making the assumption Or Creator, rather, is making the assumption that ByuN is saving it up. Now the Raven does provide vision, and this guy, he just sees his brother die. Maybe this pillar was in the way. Yeah, you know what? That's probably better. Alright, so ultimately, a little bit of panic right there on the side of ByuN. Couple of Marines, 3 SCVs end up going down, but nothing really too crazy. I guess in a way, though, this Raven opener now also has been defended, right? So that's another thing that these Dark Templar have achieved. The Raven, for now. Pick him up. Yeah, the Raven, for now, has been, well, pushed back. One of the guys over here, trying to be annoying, sacrifice himself for the greater good. Forces out a scan as well, though, so I think if he would have gotten a 3rd SCV, that would have been really quite nice. 2 SCVs. Not in love with it, but it's not terrible. In the meantime, though, we've got ourselves a 3rd Nexus on the other side of the map. Now Blink is coming up together with a Colossus. ByuN playing a more passive style. He does have a 3rd CC here going into the stim pack together with the combat shields as well as the 1-1 upgrades. So those upgrades are researching over here. And all of these 4 will finish up, not right around the same time, but it is going to create a timing opportunity for ByuN to go across the map if he wants to. But because he already has a 3rd CC, he really doesn't necessarily need to. Are we gonna warp in 2 more DTs? Yeah. More glowy boys. What? Never mind. That was awkward. Yeah, that moment when you request a Dark Templar and suddenly a Zealot shows up. Yikes. Yeah, there's no way, dude. Double supply depot together with a bunker at the front. 2 siege tanks behind it. Command center in the front. I mean, good luck trying to break that with, well, basically 1 of each unit, okay? Other than the Stalkers. 1 Archon, 1 Dark Templar, 1 Adept, 1 Zealot, 1 Immortal, 1 Sentry. There you go. 1 Colossus. How do you counter when your opponent has an answer for everything? Right? If you have 1 of each unit, how in the world is your opponent ever going to beat you? That's brilliant, because you have, well, a perfect unit counter, right? The Colossus can be used against the Marines, the Immortal can be used against the Marauders. Brilliant stuff, honestly, right here by Creator. Make 1 of each. Yeah, he's like creating the Protoss Avengers. Strength in numbers is not the Protoss specialty. Diversity is the key. Alright, well, soon that will be lost, though, because we do have a load of gateways coming up. ByuN right now, going for exactly what I was pointing out earlier. Yeah, so ByuN, historically, very aggressive Terran, right? Somebody who's a fan of loading up his medevacs and just YOLO boosting them into the opponent's base. That's something he's been doing for years. And then sometimes he goes into these moods where he's just refusing to do anything. Yeah, he's just sitting. Making these supply depots in such a way, too, that if there would be a bunch of Zealots charging, they would go through these choke points, and obviously that would allow these bad boys to deal additional damage, because they're all clumped up. Very tricky here for Creator to get much done against it. The Creator recognizes that. He decides to just go straight for a 4th base, basically around the time that ByuN is finally securing his 3rd. I'm liking this position better for Creator, but obviously, this is a situation that Terran players are not uncomfortable in at all. His upgrades are good, ByuN that is. He's got himself a Ghost Academy coming up, 4th Command Center is building. Jimmy over here did scout exactly what's going on, but it doesn't really matter all too much. Okay. Yeah, when Terrans don't want to fight, it is very difficult to break them. They've gotten very good over the years with their structure positioning and just the timing of everything that they do. In a way, they get to decide the pacing, at the very least in this matchup. Unless you want to go for hyper-aggression early on, it's quite difficult for Protoss to try and crack that shell of Terran, so ByuN happily turtling up. How many Disruptors do we have? 0. The Disruptor Avenger is on the horizon. Our savior is coming. 1 of each. 1. Aw, we already have 3 Colossus and 4. Oh my god, he's ruining it. Still 1 Prism and 1 Adepto. 1 Observer? If you had to be one of the Protoss Avengers, which unit would you like to be? I think a lot of people would say you want to be the scariest and biggest unit. That's fair enough. But the thing is, the Colossus would also be the biggest target to go after, right? It's... Yeah, I guess the Gantry Thor would probably be the best. I guess that's basically... What do we call them again in the Legacy of the Void campaign? I don't remember. I guess that faction of Protoss, they're basically the Avengers. The Gantry Thor is one of them. The biggest and scariest carrier of them all. Anyways, Zealot run by over here, trying to just slow this down. Honestly, it doesn't really matter all too much. At this point, we're already getting to a location or a spot in the game where you want to switch out the units that you've got for some higher quality ones. So, you know what? When you can trade this many SCVs for just a bunch of Zealots, not bad. We've got ourselves the High Templar being warped in, going into the Storm upgrade, double research for the 3-3 upgrades as well. I think it's the Purifiers. I think it's the Purifier faction. Yeah, that's it. They're basically the Avengers. In my defense, I've only played the StarCraft 2 campaign about 6 times. Okay, maybe not that many times, but I've played Wings of Liberty a lot. A lot of custom campaigns available for for Wings of Liberty. All right, we may get a skirmish. Look at that. Never mind. Never mind. Creator's backing off. I was gonna say, this is not really that great of an army. Maybe we should put the Colossi on the control group as well. This is a remarkably passive game, considering it started with a Dark Templar proxy. Alright, good feedback right there by Creator. He does not yet have a Storm upgrade done, although it's finished at this point. Big EMP is going to slow all of this down. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, a couple of Adepts here are being annoying. Jimmy over there, reincarnated, immediately gets tagged by a Liberator, or by a Disruptor rather, once again. Speaking of Liberators though, that'll be the next step right here in ByuN's master plan. Generally speaking, this would be the point where you do go... This would be the point where you do go for those ranged libs. Creator already prepared for that as well. He decides to go triple Stargate right now together with a Fleet Beacon. 4 command centers on the production tab. We really are kind of playing a Terran versus Zerg now. Here we get to play a little bit of StarCraft 2 trivia. What is this upgrade called? It's the Caduceus reactor. Sorry, I just wanted to do my caster flex. Hope you're impressed. Smash like if you were. Smash like if you weren't. Actually, still to this day, regardless on whether or not they're hitting or they're hiding the like and dislike system on YouTube, right? You can't actually see dislikes anymore. They changed that quite a while ago. There are still people every day that jump to my video and immediately hit dislike. Shout out to those people. Appreciate it. They've been very consistent for many years now. It's funny too, because when you click on one of my videos, right? What exactly do you come to expect? Like, what do you think you're gonna like? It's pretty obvious, right? And then there's people that are watching. They're like, no. This is not what I wanted to see. Dislike. I love it. Anyways, big EMP once again. Those ghosts are, of course, incredibly powerful. Creator at this point, well, maxed out, so he can't really make a whole load of Tempest. I wouldn't mind seeing Tempest, although Carrier's not a bad choice. Ooh, what is this? Creator having half of his army just, well, off to the left, and he loses a big chunk of it completely randomly. Good micro here so far by ByuN, now forced to go up against a bunch of DTs. Big Storm here is going to hurt quite a bit. He decides to stick around, probably anticipated that well, Storm was gonna wear off. Another Colossus. Why are the Colossi not on control groups this entire time? Okay. I'm not sure exactly what Creator is doing there. That was a pretty sloppy engagement. Loads of losses, especially on the side of Creator. ByuN overstaying is welcome, so him weathering the Storm right there, I think it can be excused. Already though, yeah, we have Liberators coming up, but we have a healthy chunk of Vikings. They were originally made, of course, to deal with the Colossi. Turns out we didn't really need them, but they can still be fantastic as well against Carriers and Tempest and all the rest of it. Plus, yeah, Mr. ByuN, he upgraded them early, so he's already going into the +3 air weapons. That means that his flying units are gonna hit very, very hard. ByuN, how many command centers are we gonna make? Follow-up question for Creator this time. How many Dark Templar are we gonna make? All right, well, as many as we can before hitting a supply block. I think we're gonna just try and kill it. All right, no blink required. This is... Oh, God. Yeah, it is going to work. The thing is... that was actually worthwhile. I was gonna say, there are so many new command centers that are willing to take that spot. But that was effectively, what, 4 command centers going down? 3 command centers? I can't count. I was looking at the mini-map. Either way. Not a bad harvest right there for Creator's Dark Templar. So this is that style that Maru was playing like a year and a half or so ago. Nobody else was really particularly good at it. So I think that's the reason why ByuN is practicing it here. Trying his best to play against one of the world's best Protoss players in a very defensive manner. Is it going to work out? Well, Liberators here, not really achieving that much. Have we shown the carriers? Nah, carriers are chilling. Creator is basically trying to hide, I don't know, like a monster truck, you know? He's got like a little apartment, and out in front there's a... He's trying to hide the biggest unit in the entire game. I don't really necessarily agree with it, but if you have time, are these zealots? Oh, stalkers. What? 1 zealot? Oh, yeah. 1 zealot, 2 stalkers, and a Dark Templar. That sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. 1 zealot, 1 Dark Templar, and 2 stalkers walk into a bar. All the SCVs die. This is not a very funny joke, but... sounds like one of the jokes that my nephew would tell me. He's been coming up with his own quote-unquote jokes. And he's been telling them to me. There's generally no punchline. Which I would say is one of the criteria for a joke, but he seems to disagree. In his defense, he's like 6, so... Anyways. Jimmy, 3.0, flying across the screen once again. So both players have been hitting each other in the face a bunch, but ultimately, yeah, Creator has been hit more. The thing is, Creator also has a lot more income, so the scans right now do reveal the monster trucks. So Creator should be in a good enough position here to continue sustaining his army quite handily. You can see that at the bottom of the screen right now too, when it comes to the total supply count, the amount of money in the bank. Oh God, this is so awkward. That Archon is not very nimble, apparently. Having some trouble. To be fair, he doesn't have feet, so... that was probably one of the weirdest fights I've seen ever, man. Those glass panes. Not walkable. More carriers coming up. So ultimately, what Creator is going for is every Gold League player's favorite strategy, right? We just took a very strange way of getting there, but ultimately, we do end up with mass carrier. Every Protoss player loves mass carrier. Yeah. Creator probably remembers the time that he was in Gold League. Maybe he never was. I'm not sure, but anyways, maxing out on carriers is a bit of a classic. Because oftentimes what happens when you get to a point when, well, you have enough of them, you can just literally steamroll straight through the center of the map. And it's honestly very satisfying and very fun. The problem at this level is that these units are not really that microable, right? So the carriers, you just kind of attack move and that's about it. You can technically target fire stuff, but oftentimes that's not ideal because your interceptors spend a lot of time flying around at that point, so you may as well just let them just do their own thing. And that's exactly obviously where ByuN can, well, show us why mass carrier is not very popular. With good usage of all of his tools, he should be able to pick them off one at a time. It all really comes down to the spellcasting though. If, say for example, Creator can get a storm done, okay, well, that's another option. If Creator can land a big storm on a lot of clumped up Vikings, that can be fantastic. ByuN now taking a page out of the Zork player's books once again. Rather than passivity and mass expanding only, he is going to build Terran spore crawlers. I mean, obviously, these are going to be fantastic if that's the spot where the carriers decide to engage. But, ooh, this is what I'm talking about, though. Yeah, that's so bad. That is so bad. There's enough Vikings right now to one-shot carriers. Some good feedbacks there. A decent storm, too, but it only counts if you kill stuff. In the meantime, I love this. Little Marine Marauder run by here in the bottom right-hand corner, dealing some damage. Looks like the Nexus will fall. If we target it, it would. Ooh, alright. Well, not all heroes wear capes, but these guys do. Yeah, the problem with these missile turrets, obviously, is that they're costly. It adds up. ByuN doesn't have that much money, despite the fact that he's got so many command centers. He doesn't really have that much cash. And at this point, look, you can just point your carriers at what you want them to kill. You can fly away, because their leash range is very long. Storm? Ooh, careful. EMPs? Big EMP right there. Removes the energy out of all of those high Templar. Okay, not my favorite engagement right there. Now the Vikings are on the hunt. Stalkers decide to blink forward. How many Dark Templar have we made this game? Yeah, 25 Dark Templar have died, but a lot of them also turned into Archons. It's a bit difficult to say. But we're definitely over 30 Dark Templar at this point. Nah, we're probably at over 40 Dark Templar, considering there are still 9 of them available. I quite like him. Like, Protoss players have basically been using Dark Templar lately as upgraded Zealots. It's just that they're very expensive Zealots too, because they cost gas, and that is the main limitation you have at this point. Yeah, that blink upgrade is so good. Creating chaos left, right, and center. Now, missile turrets are detectors, but I think you should go. Like, you should treat this kind of as like a Zergling run by, you know? Like, your opponent is busy trying to take out whatever they can, and then suddenly you hit him in the face with your maxed out army. I don't know why we're going that way. Can we go that way instead? That seems much better to me, but anyways. So what exactly is ByuN's win condition here? I guess ByuN is trying his best to get his opponent to make a terrible mistake and then overwhelm. Creator has a lot of infrastructure, so he's got 17 gateways. My god. Alright, yeah, no, he's got plenty of infrastructure to try and remax really quickly, too. He's probably thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. Worst case scenario right here for Creator is he loses his army and he can't remax. Ah, these Vikings are putting in so much work. Yeah. So what do you replace the lost carriers with? Apparently it's going to be Dark Templar, Zealots, and Disruptors. Ultimately, I guess if all of the carriers die, then these Vikings are also sort of pointless. And there's 27 of them. The Vikings, though, will enable... Like, with all the Vikings gone and all the carriers gone, obviously those Disruptors and the Liberators are going to really shine here for the Terran. Disruptors would be very difficult to achieve much. This is a great fight right here for ByuN. Really good fight. Oy, oy, oy. Yeah. And so far, those carriers just haven't really been that great. So what exactly should you be doing right here as Creator? Well, honestly, it's hard to say. I think one thing you should do, though, is drop that mineral bank. Having 11,000 minerals in the bank achieves basically nothing. Photon cannons, shield batteries, zealot run-bys, whatever. But I think preserving gas and spending minerals here would be the obvious next choice. I also wouldn't have minded seeing a second cybernetics core if we're gonna double down this heavily into Skytos, because these units have been pretty low, right? They've been pretty low in upgrades. I also love the addition of a mothership at this point, even if it's just for recalling. It'd be amazing right now to drag the entire Terran army towards the right side of the map and then to suddenly appear again on the left. There is no Mama ship available at this point in the game, but I think it would be a good addition, although apparently Creator disagrees. Alternatively, you can go into Tempest. Now here come the Vikings. Imagine if you could now recall towards the left side of the map. Instead, I think we're just slowly gonna lose a lot of these flying units, and it's just a little sad. Decent storm right there ultimately does force these units to back off. Command center did live. But obviously killing a command center at this point, yeah, we literally have 10 of them. That is after quite a few of them died. It's not like ByuN is starving for them. Now, what Creator is effectively doing, though, is kind of that strategy that Zerg players like to employ against Turtle Terrans. Or against Turtle Protoss, for what it's worth. But we see this a lot in the Terran versus Zerg matchup at the moment, where Creator is basically taking half of the map plus one base. And obviously that is one base that he's going to be able to mine, right? But it is also one base that ByuN will not be able to mine. So if Creator can take, I don't know, like roughly, say like 58% of the total minerals on this map, total gas on this map, even though he's gotten some very inefficient traits so far, he could probably make up for that. So that's what he's trying to do right now. I really think we should try and defend this. But instead what we're doing is building 2 photon cannons and a like, this is all a little uninspiring here. I don't love it. Tactical nuke, by the way, on the production tab. That is one excellent way to break a ton of static defense, and maybe the reason why Creator is not really focused on it that much. There are still new carriers. We are going to be going into the Tempest upgrade here too. Every time those Vikings fire, though, they kill something. Yeah. Couple of carriers here coming in from the side. Somehow all army hotkeyed in this direction. Ay, 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 ay. Decent storms, though, are really slowing all of this down. There's not enough Vikings anymore to one-shot. But these are such messy fights. Okay, we're doing a full-on switch right now, apparently straight into Tempest. This is also the moment where ByuN is going to double down into his Liberator carrier production, or Liberator Ghost, rather, production. Tactical nuke flying across the screen. Can we find the Ghost? We did find the Ghost. So that nuke will not be landing. So much Liberator damage, though. Vikings, okay, we'll find the last of the carriers for now. Archon, trying to get underneath, but the Vikings do turn around. Turn around. Okay. He sacrifices the Vikings. Now, he doesn't know if there will be more carriers on the back of this. So in a way, this is ByuN kind of calling the bluff that we are going to make a transition away from carriers, which we are doing. But if you're going to sack all of the Vikings, I wouldn't kind of mind just seeing him go back to carrier production. As funny as that sounds. Most importantly, though, during all of this, Creator did manage to hold on to this base. One downside right here for Creator is that he spends so much of his gas on Dark Templar that he doesn't actually have any of it remaining. So ByuN has got gas for the next game, but I'm afraid he's not going to be able to save it. No credit system in StarCraft 2. I still like this position, though, for Creator. The only problem here is that he can mostly just remax with a whole load of Zealots. That's exactly what we're doing. Tempest here, of course, with their double damage against structures upgrade. Really handy. That command center, that planetary will go, and that means that the Zealots have an opportunity to fight. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we're gonna do. Creator swarming the opponent, using all of the Zealots like they are lings. Orbital command over there at the golden minerals. Okay. Reinforcing Marine Marauder medevac, though, does show up. Liberator also appears. Another Zealot warp-in is available once again. 21 SCVs have already fallen, and is there enough here for ByuN to actually hold on? Every time there's a warp-in, we're gonna see like 17 Zealots. At this point, it's like 20% of his entire bank, though, so he's gotta be careful. Yep. Oh, no, we made even more. 19 Zealots being warped in all at the same time. This is like the Legacy of the Void trailer. Remember that trailer? Today, we reclaim our homeland. Ay, ay, ay. Lots of references to the Legacy of the Void campaign in this particular match. My life for ire. Get him, Creator. Look, as a very unbiased commentator, I will say that some of my least favorite strategies are turtle strats. This is basically ByuN sitting back for the first half hour of this game. I wish I was exaggerating. And I don't think that's a very fun playstyle overall. And I think Creator is going to be able to punish him for it. Yeah. So ByuN at this point has a Yeah, a whole lot of command centers remaining, but very few minerals. These are effectively his last minerals. There's a little bit of cash remaining in the top left-hand corner of the map. But Creator stealing this base that should have been ByuN's is absolutely massive. Now, by the way, this is game 1 of a best-of-3 series. I could be here for a while, is what I'm saying. I may have to go and get some coffee. Oh, that's ambitious. I think we're actually trying to open up some supply right now. Yeah, we're actually just getting rid of probes, because there's not enough mineral fields to mine anymore. So we may as well replace it with more attacking supply. Here we go, Zerglings, or I mean Zealots. Both units start with the Z. A lot of overlap in this particular game anyways. They are moving forward. Stalkers being warped in. This game started with Zealots and Stalkers, and apparently we're trying to end it with Zealots and Stalkers as well. Yeah, ByuN is in a world of trouble. I don't see a way out of this anymore for ByuN. 80 supply behind, no money to mine, going up against a Protoss player with loads of money in the bank. Creator probably should have found a way to drop his minerals a little earlier. Some additional static defense would have really helped him out, especially on those pivotal bases, like the ones in the top left and the ones over here. I mean, he's hung on with them so far, right? So it's all good, but I also think he probably went a little too crazy on the Dark Templar run-bys, because that makes this game a little awkward for him, because he's had so little gas. Anyways, I think this is ByuN's final stand. Does he have enough? He does have a ton of ghosts. Problem is, every time he wants to set up a fight like that, there's one of those Novas moving forward. That may have been the last of them, though. Storm inside of the Prism? Yep. Creator doesn't really know exactly how much money there is, but he decides to play it very safe, and ultimately, it is indeed our Protoss who obtains the victory. Whew. Game number 2. We find ourselves on Oceanborn. Round 2. Fight! I tried. My scoreboard is off. No. There you go. Creator currently leading this particular series 1-0. So what went wrong right there for ByuN? Well, he decided to play an extremely passive strategy, and Creator gobbled up the map. Going for such a passive strategy, especially on maps where it is relatively easy for your opponent to steal one of your, quote-unquote, your bases, is just not necessarily the best strat. So I don't love it right there. It works really well against weaker Protosses. So that is one thing, I guess, to keep in mind. When your opponent is not particularly great at the game, that super passive style works out really nicely. But I think Creator he caught wind of exactly what his opponent was trying to do really early on, and he played around it. He probably recognized right from the start that that was going to be a half-hour-long game, easy peasy, so he decided to play the long haul. Keep in mind that that game started off with a Proxy Dark Shrine. A Proxy Dark Shrine ultimately ended with a 30-minute game? Okay. I don't think actually ByuN fell that far behind from the DT rush, though. Like, one of the reasons why we do see players turtling pretty heavily is if they do fall behind. Wow, ByuN actually cancels the Marine to go for the slightly faster CC. That now also means that yeah, I was gonna say, I don't love this. Huh. There's no way that that is really worth it, is it? Ah, maybe it is. Small little move. Yeah, I guess it is ever so slightly worth it. It's a 50 mineral drop. So he restarted the Marine after the command center was... Yeah, I guess it's okay. Creator decided to run because he knew that there would be a Marine spawning, but he assumed that the Marine would spawn a few seconds earlier. Okay. But yeah, I don't think in that previous game, ByuN necessarily fell behind from the Dark Templar opener. I think he was totally fine. He didn't need to play that passively. It wasn't a response to him falling behind early on. He just decided to play that style right from the get-go, and he got punished for it. Creator going for a Stargate build this time around. So generally speaking, it's going to be Phoenixes into Colossi, but you can certainly also go into Oracles if you want to. Usually, though, the Phoenixes are really good at not taking damage early on. So Terrans can make a wide variety of units early. Be it a Widowmine drop, or a Hellion drop, or a Raven opener, or whatever, right? Whoa, did that arm just twitch? Yeah, the arm is moving! Oh my god. It's like when you cut the head off of a chicken, you know? Apparently when you cut the arm off of a Marine, they can still use their arm for like half an hour or so? Insane. Anyhow, there's a lot of variety when it comes to that early game Terran aggression, and with good micro, Phoenix openers can theoretically counter it all. Keyword theoretically, because it's really easy to mess up. Shield battery here as well. Nice and early. Hellion mostly just here for scouting purposes, but if it can kill anything, that would be nice. Thing is, yeah, it's 3 of those attacks before it will ultimately kill a single probe, and that is just not quite that easily done. Robo facility on the back of this right now, and indeed the Phoenixes are coming. Alright, so Medevac is out. There is a Widowmine as well. Widowmine is sitting on the ramp over here. Tactically positioned because it's in one of those spots that is pretty much, well, it's not quite invisible. We can kind of tell that it's there, but it's, you saw that? Like, it is very, very, very easy for, well, now you see the little line, but it's very easy for the Protoss player to miss that. In the end, though, considering the path that we took, it looks like that Widowmine, oh, all right. Well, that was a bit silly. That Widowmine was mostly irrelevant. Now, ByuN did manage to get a nice hit in, and I guess maybe his counter-aggression can get something done. Nice thing about Phoenixes is that they are one of the few Protoss units in the early game that doesn't die to a Widowmine in one hit. They look like paper planes, but they're actually quite beefy. I always kind of feel like the visual of the Phoenix is not that imposing. But they actually have more health than you'd imagine. Alrighty. Now, of course, that micro becomes a lot more tricky. Nah, it's definitely not third Nexus time just yet. Probably need to wait a little bit, Mr. Probius. Yeah, we're only at 3 Phoenixes right now, so it's really not that many. Oh, he's gonna try and set off the mine. Lovely little play. Hey, you gotta get that right. That's a small trick that looks pretty easy, but it's really not. Shield battery right there, by the way, positioned in such a way that we can get quite a bit of damage done. In the meantime, we have a Liberator here harassing 2. Nexus does get cancelled. Okay. This is much better here for ByuN. Double, well, delay right there on that third is absolutely massive. In the meantime, third command center already finishing up on the other side of the map. Barracks 3, 4, 5. I forgot 2. 2, 3, 4, 5. All coming up. I know how to count, I swear. I passed elementary school. In my defense, it has been a little while. Alright, Phoenix is trying to see if maybe they can get something done on the other side of the map. At this point, you kind of have to get something done as well. Yeah, if you kill a few workers, I think this is once again doable for Creator, but he is finding himself in a pretty tricky scenario. Yeah, that's not great. I think ultimately you can trace a lot of it back to that little Widowmine detonation. Yeah. The main issue here for Creator is that his Nexus is late. And obviously Terran has not really been slowed down that much. So we've got ourselves Stimpack, Combat Shields, 1-1 Research, all of the shebang here. Once again, coming up at a reasonable time. And ByuN is going to be able to build up a massive army. Now these Phoenixes hurt me complain about their effectiveness. And they ultimately did actually put in quite a bit of work. Yeah, 7 SCVs, definitely not bad at all. If only that Nexus didn't get cancelled. Alright. ByuN starts to pile on the pressure now. You can see that he is moving around the map a lot more confidently than what he did in the previous game. Good force fields right there. Just a singular force field, actually. Ooh, can we get one more? Oh, he's trying, and he does get at least a couple of those Terran units sliced off the rest. Drop over here on the left side of the map in the natural expansion. Colossus is available. Phoenixes should shut this down. Don't pull the probes! Ooh, that was not a pull the probe type of moment. Alright, ultimately, 7 probes end up falling there, but so did that medevac together with all the Marines. So this is actually pretty good right now for Creator. It's just that I see Protoss is in so much trouble from this exact position. When Protoss doesn't play a very clean early game, usually the mid game looks quite shaky. And this is Creator taking quite the beating so far. Okay, we're gonna shade forward with the Adepts. Fourth Nexus coming up all the way at the 12 o'clock position. That is far away from where ByuN is currently located. Again, we have proof that this is ByuN. Because ByuN always likes to go for the armor upgrade first. Why? I don't know. I think it should just... I think you should just reverse the hotkeys. Just somebody log secretly into ByuN's account and just change the hotkeys, okay? Just swap them. Just flip them. That way he will accidentally start up the attack upgrade every single time. It really is much better, but anyhow. Creator needs to defend this fourth. He cannot lose this fourth base. His army is currently, okay, running on over in this direction. I think he should be good. ByuN decides to unload over here. Phoenixes are close by now. This is fine. This is defendable. Here's the rest of the Terran bio, though, stimming forward towards the natural expansion. This push over here will get pushed back, but what about this area of the map? Colossus, don't rally. Don't rally. Okay. We've seen a lot of Colossi walk to their death. Ultimately, this guy will still end up dying. Phoenixes here have cleared out most of those units, but now probes in the natural are in some trouble. Recall did... It did complete. The problem with recalling into bio units like that is that you never really know exactly where those units are going to appear around the Nexus. And ByuN immediately jumps at that opportunity and he grabs the kill on both of the Colossi. And now suddenly, this game is in firm control of the South Korean Terran player. Usually the real scary moment for this, well, for Protoss in general against Terran is when 2-2 finishes. That's usually the moment at which the biggest amount of aggression will finally come across. And I do think it will be coming across. There it is. Ghosts are added into the mix right now too. There may not be any Archons available at this point in the game, but we do have Zealots with charge, and honestly, Ghosts are pretty good against everything. But against clumped up units like, for example, Zealots, they can be incredibly powerful. This fourth Nexus is critical. I mean, it is just a breath away from dying at this point, but alright. Wow. Does ByuN think he killed it? Don't sneeze! Probius, no! Alright, it's starting to regenerate health now. Everybody hold your breath. Looks like the Nexus actually lived. Come on, ByuN! Ugh. Alright, well, fair enough. Fourth command center done at the bottom of the map as well. Planetary fortress growing on top of it. This is the unlikely love story of a Widow Mine and an Observer. That is the Romeo and Juliet I'm interested in. Never mind. God, it's a really sad love story, man. The real story of this game, though, is this particular attack. Is there enough for ByuN to just straight up win at this point? He wants to be cautious. Yeah, he doesn't have any Vikings yet. So Viking play makes all of this much easier. He's got himself a second starport, also with a reactor on it. So bumping out those Vikings 4 at a time is going to make the game a lot easier for him. Once you go up to about a dozen or so Vikings, suddenly those Colossi aren't that big of a deal. And imagine this army without the Colossi, right? Like, it's literally a bunch of Zealots. Well, not literally, because it's also a couple other units. ByuN right now believes that maybe he can win the game, though. And I think he may just be right. Big warping of Zealots coming across as well at this point. Marines, Marauders, and Medevacs, though, dude. The good old Terran standard. Alright, as passive as ByuN was in that previous game, as aggressive as he is in this one, and that is working out way better for him. Our final game for today, it takes place on the map Solaris. ByuN has decided to go for a double gas opener, a reactor first, and a good old no scout. His opponent, though, in the meantime, has been going, of course, for, well, the standard opener. Two Creator did send a worker across, so he has seen what the opponent has gone for. Reactor first, technically a little bit risky, especially if there's, like, I don't know, a proxy gateway or something along those lines. That is a build that we see quite a bit from, for example, Hero, but Creator apparently not opting to go for that. And there's a good reason for it. It can feel very, very risky. I like that previous game a lot better from ByuN though. Yeah, that is the ByuN that I think we all know and love. That much more passive style. It's fun when we see it every once in a while, but I just don't think it is the way that ByuN is particularly good. So at IEM Katowice and at some StarCraft 2 tournaments in the past, the production team asked the pro gamers to rate every single other pro gamer. So they give the different pro gamers different ratings. So for example, they ask, how good is Serral's defensive skill from 0 to 100? What about their speed? What about their offense? What about their defense, right? And I know that ByuN, historically, whenever those questions are asked, always gets a very high offensive score, but he gets a very low defensive score, at least relative to his offense and to the other highly ranked Terrans. I think ByuN, I mean, I don't know exactly how much these guys think about those ratings and how the other pro gamers perceive them, but I can imagine that that has hurt ByuN a little bit. When he keeps on getting like an offensive score of like 96 by all the other competitors, and then his defense is like 84, he's like, dang it, man, like, I'm supposed, like, I'm a world champion, right? Like, I've won the world championships. I should be able to get a bit of a higher rating than that. Anyways, we've got ourselves 4 Cyclones going across the map, and these guys are going to be powerful until Blink is done. Blink, however, only halfway finished. Shield battery is available. Excuse me. Yeah, and the shield battery is really nice. How many gateways do we go for in total? It's going to be 3. Together with a robo facility, though, so we can definitely make a, for example, a prism and go across the map. Creator, though, moving on over towards the right side, decides to just straight up queue the 3rd base. Alright. We go for a combat shield upgrade first, once again. Once again, not as in this series, but this is a build that we have seen a bunch as of late. The thing about the upgrade is that it finishes a little bit earlier than the Stimpak research, and obviously when you go for an all-in and you don't really have any medevacs, the combat shields can just be a lot more handy, because those Marines will have more sustain. Generally speaking, a lot of the Terran builds, they will go for the Stimpak upgrade first. Pretty much all the Terran builds go for Stimpak upgrades first, but ByuN, yeah, pulling the boys. Researching the combat shields. Now, he is engaging before that upgrade is done, however, which I don't really love. But obviously, he's just aiming for the siege tank position. Yeah. He just wants to get in between these bases and try to shut this down before it lays eggs. 3rd Nexus at this point in a really good spot, but careful. Oh, we're gonna actually battery overcharge for a pylon? I don't think that's quite worthwhile. Quite a few probes, though, are well, sent across this little crevice. Alright, well, ByuN doesn't have a lot of workers. I was gonna say, I think we need to do something. Here come the Stalkers, though. Stalkers do have Blink done at this point. They're thinking about engaging this. 3rd siege tank shows up. These units can hit so hard. A couple of the reinforcing Terran units will be picked off, but in the meantime, those Cyclones and Marines, well, they are going to town. Those Marines did find their combat shields somewhere in their back pocket. Stalkers! Oh my god! Decide to just YOLO Blink straight onto the tanks, and they kill one of them, but that was certainly not worth it. A completely disjointed attack right there from Creator. He's now gonna lose the Immortal too, and I think with that, he loses this game. That was way too many units going down. 10 Stalkers for a siege tank and like 3 Marines is by no means worth it. And now those tanks are within reach right there of the Nexus. There is, of course, a 3rd, so if Creator loses this base, it's not necessarily the end of the world. But there's no way ByuN is planning to go home. Now, he's just rolling everything he's got towards the other side. And it's combat shields first, but it will be Stimpak second. He's even rallying some units at home right now, because he's afraid that there may be units going across. Okay, I think that may actually just be it. Yep. Creator not with the perfect engagement, and that's where those Stalkers feel suddenly like they're very, very flimsy. When you're forced to engage up a ramp into 3 sieged up tanks that are surrounded by SCVs. We even go for the bad-mannered engineering bay over here. Wonder if that's actually a misclick. That could have been a bunker, but GG is called. It's ultimately ByuN who obtains the victory 2-1 over Creator.